It's WrestleMania weekend, and I think Dev Patel has the inside track on what's going to happen in the main event with some bone-crunching action, and I'm going to prove it. Here are my immediate thoughts on Monkey Man. Monkey Man is the newest revenge action thriller co-written, directed by, and starring Dev Patel, and is produced by Jordan Peele through his Monkey Paw Productions. A young man ekes out a meager living in an underground fight club where night after night, wearing a gorilla mask, he's beaten down bloody by more popular fighters for cash. After years of suppressed rage, he discovers a way to infiltrate the enclave of the city's sinister elite. As his childhood trauma boils over, his mysteriously scarred hands unleash an explosive campaign of retribution to settle the score with the men who took everything from him. First, let me preface this by saying how much of a fan I am of Dev Patel's. I have been following his career pretty much since Slumdog Millionaire in 2008, which won the Oscar for Best Picture, but Dev Patel has a pretty wide-reaching catalog. Lion, The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, Chappie. I believe that The Green Knight is one of the most underrated movies of this century, so anything Dev Patel I am down for. And he goes for broke as Bobby, even though in the film he is credited as just Kid. But how it's revealed how he actually came up with that name is a cool visual gag, and yeah, Dev Patel has a great future ahead of him as a filmmaker. But let's talk about Dev Patel's performance as Bobby. When we are first introduced to him, he is getting his ass absolutely handed to him in this sort of underground fight / WWE kind of setting where Sharlto Copley from films like District 9 is there. He plays the shady promoter Tiger who's trying to encourage Dev Patel to come up with a more larger-than-life character and bleed more for the fans. Yeah, I did not expect to walk into this movie expecting any type of ties to professional wrestling. But again, it's WrestleMania weekend and it almost feels like this was all destined. But Patel is amazing as Bobby. We get flashbacks of the incident that set him on the path that he's on, and we get to see his PTSD, his rage, his sadness, and his determination just with his eyes. He does a fantastic job just with that alone. And we really get to explore Bobby on this journey as he is, going through all of this pain and he's fighting uphill, and he makes for a very sympathetic hero. Sort of like Indian Cody Rhodes. Is he going to finish his story? I'm not going to reveal that. This is a non-spoiler review, but you can definitely see the parallels there. Playing the role of Indian Roman Reigns is Sikandar Kher as Rana Singh, the corrupt chief of police in India. So let's call him the tribal police chief. And what he does in this movie to Dev Patel's character is absolutely horrendous and terrible. He makes for a great heel. He even has some swagger and trash talking that is very Roman Reigns. It was a great performance. I really dug it. And just like in WWE, Bobby and Rana have a face-off, and it looks like Bobby is going to get his revenge. But everything is taken away from him, and we have to follow him on a journey back to get this revenge, much like when Cody Rhodes lost at last year's WrestleMania, and he has to work his way back to face Roman Reigns again this year. But just like in the Bloodline, there is a final boss, and that is the Holy Man, Baba Shakti, played by Makarand Deshpande, who has political ambitions mixed in with his religious dogma, and it's clear Patel is making some correlations and references to current politics in India. This is why we have separation of church and state, I think. But Baba Shakti honestly is a great heel villain here, and he's portraying himself as a just and holy man, spinning this narrative that he's really looking out for the best interests of India, sort of like how The Rock, now that he's on the board of directors on TKO and he's the heel, he's looking out for the best interests of WWE. Now, after Bobby gets his ass handed to him, he is befriended by the Seth Rollins of the movie. Alpha, played by Vipin Sharma, who is transgender. Now, I know Seth Rollins isn't transgender, but there's a lot of comments about how he dresses like a woman and how he has an androgynous look to his character. And it is through Alpha, like with Cody and Seth Rollins, that Bobby realizes that he cannot do this whole revenge plot alone. Also great is Pitobash as Alfonso, the one-legged hustler that befriends Bobby, who has one of the most goddamn fastest rickshaws I have ever seen. But he is super entertaining and witty all throughout, even though he really isn't that physical in the film. So let's call him CM Punk. Another great character is Queenie Kapoor, played by Ashwini Kalsekar, who runs the swanky nightclub, and she has one of the best insults in the entire movie. She bucks heads with Alfonso and calls him a goat fucker. Amazing. Her trash talk is great, and because she bucks head with Alfonso, let's call her the Drew McIntyre of the film. So Bobby gets this job at this hotel and club where some of the most corrupt and evil people reside. And this is where he begins to hatch his plot of revenge. And we can really see through Dev Patel's eye that this story is really wide-reaching. Also, just like with Cody Rhodes, there is a strong parental bond. Like Cody Rhodes and Dusty Rhodes, Bobby and his mother have a very strong bond as mother and son. Let's talk about the action scenes, which are intense. As the film dives further and further into the plot, the action just escalates. And you can definitely tell that this film wears its action movie influences on its sleeve. The Raid, Old Boy, Hardcore Henry, John Wick, obviously, and beat 'em up video games that, I used to play in like the 90s and the early 2000s. And the further up Bobby goes in this hotel, the more crazy and batshit the action just gets. And the fights are gory, they're messy, they're visceral, and no one gets a clean death in this movie. No one. There is a fight in a bathroom that is absolutely violent and intense, and there is a chase scene in this that I absolutely adored. I believe Dev Patel has a great future ahead of him as a writer-director. He does a very good job with world building. The film takes place in the fictional city of Yatana, India, which looks and feels grungy and dirty, and you can feel how overcrowded and overpopulated it is. And you compare that with the decadence and the neon glow of the hotel and the club that Bobby works in and that he gets his promotions in, and you can definitely see that Dev Patel has a very keen eye for storytelling. Dev Patel isn't about snappy or witty dialogue, but really about the visuals. He worked with cinematographer Sharon Mir, and through those visuals, we get a real sense of Bobby's anger. And we also get an understanding of the caste system in India and the unbelievable wealth disparity between those on the ground that are poor compared to those that are living in the high-rises and being in the clubs and living this decadent lifestyle. Also, there are scenes in this movie when it comes to action where there are some snap camera movements and some shaky cams. So, if you get a little bit of motion sickness for movies of that nature, I'm going to just give you a little bit of a forward warning. Now, those particular choices didn't bother me. I know that because this movie was shot during COVID, the cameras they used were like Reds and GoPros and iPhones. And I actually kind of liked that. It really added to the chaotic nature of the movie for me. This film has a great score and soundtrack. It's a mishmash of Hindustani, hip-hop, and even has some crazy needle drops like Roxanne by the Police and Boney M. Fucking Boney M. I love this movie already. This movie is partially based on a Hindu parable of Hanuman, a divine monkey who went to eat a mango but instead ingested the sun. Now, I'm not familiar with the parable, but I was able to follow along with the movie and kind of see the parallels in between Bobby and Hanuman, the divine monkey. And even though I'm not a religious or spiritual person, I was still able to understand the cultural significance and why it was important to the story. Monkey Man covers revenge, parables, drugs, sex trafficking, the transgender community, poverty and wealth inequity, corruption, politics, religion, familial bonds, and all of this compacted in a 2-hour revenge plot. I believe if Dev Patel really focused on maybe 2 or 3 of these, the film would be a little bit tighter, but I do respect the man for going for it, and you can tell the ambition is there. And Patel even takes some visual cues from films like 2001 and Oppenheimer to give a more unconventional way to get inside of Bobby's head. Now, you would think that this film is just all action from beginning to end, but there really is a restrained narrative at first. So we really get inside Bobby's head. We get to see the tragic past, his bond with his mother, and we also get to see Bobby getting stronger with each fight and him training with the transgender community. And all of that plays out so very well. And he's able to handle quiet moments as well as a director, Dev Patel is. And he's also able to get some great moments of situational comedy. There is one particular underground fight that ends in the most abrupt and hilarious way, and I had to give Patel a lot of credit for pulling that off. Let me also add that final fight is one of the best things I have seen all year, and again, I think is foreshadowing for what's going to happen in the WrestleMania main event. Overall, I had a blast with Monkey Man. Dev Patel continues to shine, and this was one hell of an auspicious debut. Great action, a slick look, great characters, and a story that truly tried to be a lot more ambitious than other revenge flicks. The Beekeeper was a revenge flick about a man who killed his way up the chain of command earlier this year, but I feel Monkey Man did it better, even if it seemed a little bit bloated with the number of thematic elements Patel decided to touch on. But I just love the hell out of this movie. This is a blockbuster. Definitely see this in the theater if you can. The sound design is amazing. What did you think of Monkey Man? Share your thoughts, leave your comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can get notifications as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.